You can't talk about deaf theater in this country without mentioning Phyllis Fralick and Children of a Lesser God, because Phyllis was one of the founding members of the National Theatre of the Deaf. She was a remarkable woman and an extraordinary actress.
And that he would not be promoted come fall. And yet, I must say, straight away, that fleeing to America is hardly the solution. And even if it were, I cannot give you the money you
It's an interesting story that Mark Medoff met her through her husband, who was a technical director, and became so sort of infatuated with Phyllis as a human being and as a performer that he wrote a play that became a Tony Award-winning play for Phyllis. And she was remarkable in it. And I love the fact that Marlee Matlin played the role in the movie and won an Academy Award for it. And now Marlee Matlin's on Broadway in Spring Awakening.
I spent the entire day thinking about your note. Truly, it touched me, it did, that you'd think of me as a friend. Of course, I was saddened to hear that your exams came off rather less well than you'd hoped, and that you will not be promoted come fall.
Credit has to be given to the National Theatre of the Deaf, which came out of a production of The Miracle Worker. And both Anne Bancroft and the designers and Arthur Penn, the director, they were all interested in the theater that was being done at Gallaudet College in Washington. Because obviously Gallaudet, being the first college of the deaf in the country, I believe, has always been a very enlightened institution, and they had a very rigorous theater program. And so when Anne Bancroft and Arthur Penn and the designers went down to Gallaudet to do research, what they saw there inspired them to examine the idea of creating a theater that is just in American Sign Language.
People would typically ask me, as a deaf actor, how do you do it? How do you dance? How do you memorize the steps? And I said, just like any other actor, deaf, hard of hearing, someone in a wheelchair, we're actors. That's my skill, that's my talent. We all have strengths, we all have weaknesses.
You need to give deaf actors that opportunity. It doesn't matter who that actor is. There needs to be that exposure and that education as to how to work with deaf actors rather than just moving forward with the status quo. They need to have the confidence to know what to do and how to work with us. I think we're breaking through on something, but I think there's a lot of work left. But it's there.
You have to be proactive, you have to be assertive, you have to support the community, you have to be willing to work with hearing people, educate hearing people. And oftentimes you might think, well, I'm so sick of it, I don't want to educate hearing people, but you know what, it's part of it. You have some good days, you have some bad days, and that's the way it is.
The theater is the oldest form of social media that there is. This dates back to Greeks. The idea of being able to communicate something, really drive something home to an audience, have them pick that up and take it home with them, rather than meet with these people individually and try to spread a message. And so I think that's what we're continuing to try to do, only we're framing it with deafness now. So hats off to you.
I was the musical director of this opera, Four Saints in Three Acts, which is a strange opera under the best of circumstances. The idea, of course, was what's in the text, what can be translated into sign language. You know, when you have a line like pigeons on the grass, alas, how to find those. Pigeons was easy, you know, and the grass was easy, but alas, I think that was one of those signs that was invented for that particular thing.
Mama who bore me, Mama who gave me.
American Sign Language is a language that was invented and created in America. It's truly the only American language. And so it's a language that is born of culture. And so as a hearing audience member, to be able to watch this movement while you're hearing these lyrics, I think you are able to be absorbing twice the information that you would otherwise.
One thing people might not realize is that ASL and English are really not analogous. They're very much distinct languages. So oftentimes what we're signing in the show is very different than what we're saying out loud. So we really are doing a translation at the same time that we are giving the English lines. It's not a verbatim, word-for-word thing in our hands. So the song at the top of Act 2 is called The Guilty Ones, and there's this lyric, who can say what dreams are, who can say what we are, which is a very poetic lyric, and it's sort of a big idea and something you have to think about. So our signs are dreams in a jar, can't. Us in a jar, can't. Wow, we're singing the English, who can say what dreams are, who can say what we are, meaning, you know, you can't box up your dreams, you can't box up the idea of who we are. It's a bigger idea than that.
Sign language was incredibly difficult for me to learn. It was really the most challenging thing I've had to do as an actor and probably as a person.
You learn the signs as just like choreography, and then just from working with the deaf people on our team and hanging out with the deaf cast and working on your scenes, you start to learn the language, you start to learn your social signing, and then you start to learn what it is you're actually signing, and then this weird thing happens in your brain where you start to speak out loud what you're signing, and you start to sign what you're saying, and it all sort of comes apart. And so it was easy-ish, and then really hard, and then got easy-ish again.
I'm sorry about what happened. Truly, I am. I understand why you'd be angry at me. I don't know what I was thinking.
Don't.
How can I know?
Please don't. Sign language to me it's more than a language. I think it's very personal. When I'm signing, I find it much easier to express my story or to say how I really feel. Sometimes I tend to be a little more peacefully quiet, but when I'm signing, I say everything that I'm thinking by accident.
There are, of course, challenges in using an interpreter. American Sign Language is not a literal language, so sometimes jokes are lost or metaphors don't quite work. And making sure everyone's eyes are on the interpreter and everyone knows when to start. That's actually one of the trickiest things to do, is to just get everyone together and knowing when to start at the same time, because you can't just yell it into a microphone. You have to really explain. We're starting from the moment when Vendla steps off the bed. Is everyone together? Go. And so, but it's nice because it really focuses everyone. The amount of focus that is present in rehearsals for a show like this is truly extraordinary. I got involved with Deaf West almost 13 years ago. I got an audition for a production of Big River, a musical that was being produced by the Roundabout Theater Company in Deaf West on Broadway, and I walked into an audition room, never having met a deaf person in my life, and since then it's been and become a huge part of my life and career.
For the light to shine.
When I saw the Deaf West production of Big River, I was really surprised and delighted at how good it was. In the early days of the National Theater of the Deaf, a wonderful man named Joe Layton, who was a Broadway director and choreographer, took the challenge of sign language and really had fun with it, and took it to a place that I don't think a normal director would have taken it. Because he was a choreographer, he was able to invent movement and have fun with movement. So when I saw Big River, I thought that Jeff Calhoun had really followed along the tradition of what Joe Layton had done. And then when I saw Spring Awaken, I think Spencer Liff has even taken it to a much farther degree of sophistication. I mean, the choreography in Spring Awakening, we would never have had come anywhere near that kind of sophisticated choreography in the 4/8 and 3 acts that we did years ago.
Nothing but your head, nothing but your head. It's the bitch of living, someone you can't stand. It's the bitch of living, bitch, just the bitch. Nothing but your head, just the bitch, yeah, just the bitch of living, someone you can't stand.
if we close our ears as hearing people, what can we do to sort of enhance the rest? And so I'm trying to match visual to sound at times. So I'm listening to the harp play and I go, oh, what does that sound like? Oh, harp sounds like the flicker of a candle. And so I tried to integrate as much so that the deaf audience was never left out of an intro to a song. I always kept saying to the design team, I said, okay, how can we convey how the music sounds through light, through choreography, through, at times, smell?
I saw the Los Angeles production of Spring Awakening back in June of 2015, and within 15 seconds of seeing the show, I knew that I wanted to take it to Broadway. This young girl stepped forward and started to sign what she was going through in her life as another voice voiced her thoughts as if they were coming from her head, which is so much of what musical theater is about, right? It's the songs are really the thoughts in someone's mind. So to see someone sign these thoughts and have the voice coming from behind her, if you will, just moved me in a way that I had never seen before.
Please, Melchior.
Spring Awakening was a show that I did on Broadway in 2007. The words are exactly the same and the music is exactly the same. And I loved being a part of that production, but it had no deaf element whatsoever. It was a completely different version of the show. But the message remains the same, which is we must listen to people in whatever way that means. We must be engaging with a population that maybe we don't know how to. We have to figure out how to, or the consequences are dire.
Spring Awakening at its core is a story about the perils of miscommunication. So we went to DJ and we said, okay, here's the idea. There is a hearing mother and a deaf daughter, and the daughter is asking, where do kids come from? And if the mother only knew the signs that she had learned from her daughter, how would she be able to impart this knowledge with her hands? She wouldn't be able to. And so, therefore, this destructive chain of events would occur because communication was broken.
Oh, you're gonna be wounded. Oh, I'm gonna be your oh, I'm gonna bruise you.
Some of us knew sign language before we started, some of us have learned sign language along the way, and you see the incredible result, as you just saw before you. What I'd like to do now is try to do the same thing with the audience, for all of us to sign along with the performers on stage, and give you a chance to feel it for yourself.
It's our job, hopefully, as artists and as theater makers to reflect nature. And nature is a very wild and ununiform thing.
The Americans with Disabilities Act was passed in 1990, which meant that all arts organizations had to make sure that their facilities were accessible to people with disabilities. Knowing that they have this extra requirement has really lit a fire under arts organizations and under theaters. And in the last 10 years, there have been a lot of advances with technology. Knowing that having mobile applications and devices and online resources and technologies in theater has really opened up the opportunities. But it's been a rocky road. We see ups and downs. The trajectory is generally upward, but people with disabilities are still finding it difficult to find roles on stage and also in TV and movies. They find it's hard to find plays about their experience.
Broadway needs to stand up and stand out and show all different types of artists, whether that's authors, directors, and yes, actors. We have a young woman in the show who is the first ever woman on Broadway in a wheelchair. It has never happened before, and believe me, when we figured that out, we were shocked. We were shocked, but it's happened now on Broadway. And there are more deaf actors on Broadway than there ever have been. This idea of incorporating deaf actors into a show, a woman in a wheelchair into a show, will have a slow ripple effect through the rest of the world.
Search is right here.
Before producing Spring Awakening, I had never had a conversation with a deaf person in my entire life, not one. I've been exposed to a world and a group of people that I never would have been exposed to if it wasn't for this production. And it's been one of the most enriching experiences of my entire life because it opened my eyes and opened my ears to a whole different world of wonderful people and, most importantly, wonderful artists.
Anything that you think is your limitation can actually be the thing that makes you so special and the perfect person for a project, you know? I'm sure many of these actors grew up wondering how they were gonna find a way in this business that is largely not inclusive of them. But it's those very actors that have made this unlike anything on Broadway. So, you know, it allows you to look at your own ability and think, what about me that I think is a limitation could actually be my superpower?